What's up, good people? Welcome to the studio. I am Pete Thorn. Hey, thanks to my buddy Sammy Bowler for playing on that track at the beginning of the video. It was really fun having him guest on that song. He played some beautiful stuff, and I'm sure you noticed that track featured a whole smorgasbord, a flotilla, a virtual armada of Taylor guitars. So how did this video come about? Well, I was talking to my friend Tim at Taylor a little while ago, and we were talking about our mutual love of kind of old school round-shouldered dreadnoughts. I loved guitars like J50s, J45s. I used to have an old J50. And he said, you know, I got some guitars you got to try that I don't even know if you know that we make, you know. And I said, sure, I'd love to check out what you've got, you know, in that sort of vein, as well as anything else you'd like me to try. I said, why don't I make a video for you of whatever you kind of want to put into my hands. Now, here's the thing about Taylor guitars. They are always great. They show up and like every single one plays stellar. They all sound cool. They all sound different, but they've got like a great thing, all of them. Now, I'm not just like blowing smoke right now. I'm really not. Here's the thing. A few years ago, I was doing some touring for a little while with an artist named Colby Calais, pop artist. And we would go out and do like fly-in things. Sometimes I wouldn't even bring a guitar. I would just backline a guitar because it was just easier because the type of traveling that we were doing, and it was acoustic shows. And I got in the habit after a little while of only backlining Taylor guitars because they were just so consistent. When they showed up, and even if they'd been like part of a, you know, backline company's rental fleet for a while and they were beat up and stuff, they were anywhere from a good guitar to a really terrific guitar. Every time a Taylor would show up, I always knew it was going to play good, it would have a good pickup in it, and just sound good and be consistent. And you guys know I'm a big fan of Suhr guitars, right? I always consider Taylor to be kind of like the acoustic version of Suhr guitars, if that makes sense. They're made in the U.S. Matter of fact, they're made in factories that are probably only about 40 miles from each other. Just, you know, really a lot of similarities, I think, as far as the forward-thinking thing, like ties to the past, a real like appreciation of the really cool things about guitars that have been made before and what came before, but also forward-thinking like innovation and always trying to kind of push the envelope. And they sort of strike that balance really, really well, I find, between the best of what came before and then just forward-thinking stuff. So, for example, like all these guitars, I'm pretty sure all of them have the new V-Class style bracing in them. So if you've ever looked inside an acoustic and you know about the bracing, these look very different, the way the bracing is, and that's the new Taylor V-Class bracing. They brought that out a number of years ago, and they claimed that it had like increased sort of clarity and articulation and richness to the tone and intonation all the way up the neck, and that all kind of sounds like, you know, like marketing or buzzwords. But anyways, I was at NAMM when they brought it out, and I went and watched a demo of the guitars, and they showed me, because they still make guitars with the, you know, traditional old school bracing, and they showed me the two different guitars, and sure enough, I heard a difference, and it was a lot of the things they said, like when they played chords up the neck, you know, the guys that were demoing the guitars and stuff, you could really hear this like lots of sustain and articulation, the way that the notes rang together. They just sounded different than the traditionally braced guitars, so that always intrigued me. So I was happy to get all these guitars anyway, so that I could check out these V-Class bracing models, you know, a bunch of different ones. So hopefully right out of the gate you were able to hear the difference between at least 3 of these 5 guitars, because I tried to kind of isolate the parts and make them all sort of really speak. So the first guitar that you heard was this one, the Builder's Edition 717. This is just a gorgeous guitar with a spruce top. At first I thought it might be cedar because of the color, but it's actually spruce. And it's got rosewood back and sides. And it's got a really, really terrific neck, as just about every Taylor guitar does. But they call it a compound carve, I do believe. And it's got kind of just sort of a different shape. It sort of evolves with your hand. It feels like it was hand-shaped, you know, as you're moving up the neck. And it's just really, really comfortable. And it's got rolled fingerboard edges as well, so that's super nice. And as I was saying, it's got that kind of round-shouldered dreadnought shape that really kind of takes me back and reminds me of, you know, my old J50 or something like that. And just a terrific sound. Now, I will confess, they asked me how I wanted the guitars set up when they sent them to me, and I said, I'm a wuss, I like light gauge strings, and I like low action, and then what did I do? I went and I wrote a song and I dropped tuning, but the guitar still responded really well, even though it's tuned all the way down to like a drop C kind of tuning. Right? It's got a little bit of buzz to it. I will just say that when you listen to the isolated clips that I'm about to play for you of all the different guitars, the 2 that I tuned down just have a little bit of rattle, but that's my fault because I tuned them all the way down literally to C on the low string, right? So what can you expect out of, I think 11 to probably 50 gauge strings. I should have asked for, you know, a 12 to 54 if I was going to tune them way down. But anyways, no matter what, they're terrific sounding guitars. So let's listen to this one, the Builder's Edition 717, isolated outside of the mix. Now the next guitar that showed up in the song was this one. This is the Builder's Edition 517. Once again, it's the round shoulder dreadnought, or Grand Pacific as they call it, body shape. And this one has a torrefied spruce top, but mahogany back and sides. Once again, a really, really similar neck shape actually to the 717. Feels very, very similar to me. It's the compound carved neck as well. And this guitar just had a slightly different voice. I actually have trouble like deciding which one I like more. It's a little bit brighter and it just has a little bit different like sort of notches through the mids or something than the other one does. And I guess that's just characteristic of mahogany versus rosewood back and sides. Once again, just a really, really beautiful sounding guitar. It plays just about identical to the 717 and sounds just terrific. Let's listen to the parts that I recorded with this one soloed outside of the mix. This is the AD17E blacktop. This is the guitar that you saw me strumming some chords on, as well as Sammy Bowler played a really cool lead and some harmonics on this guitar. So this is oven coal back and sides. Still all solid wood on this guitar, but this guitar comes in like actually a little more than $1,000 less list than the other two that I just showed you. So this is just a really, really beautiful guitar too, and just a different sound. Best for you to just hear it yourself, and then you know you can hear the differences in the tone. If you just handed me these guitars, I wouldn't know the price of them or the differences in price by the feel or anything like that. It's not like that. Gorgeous matte finish on this guitar, and like the black top is pretty cool. Just makes me think of Johnny Cash or something. Okay, let's check this one out soloed outside of the mix. Here we go. Okay, let's check out this guy now. So this is the GT811E. This is a totally unique body shape, and you can see it's kind of small, which is really cool. It's just really easy to get around. And it's a Sitka spruce top and Indian rosewood back and sides, and it's just super gorgeous back and sides on this guitar. Now it plays like a dream. It's short scale, and one little correction, they're actually calling the bracing, I thought it was the V-class bracing, but in this guitar they've adapted the V-class bracing because I guess it's a different body shape and stuff, so they couldn't do the exact same bracing, and they're calling it C-class bracing in this instrument. So shorter scale, a little slinkier feel, and also the reduced body size and stuff. I usually find guitars that have a smaller body size record really well and speak really well, especially in the mids. And that's why I played some of the solos and the kind of melody and lead parts on this guitar, because I knew that with the sort of bigger bass and maybe more scooped sound of the bigger Grand Pacific round shoulder dreadnought shapes, excuse me, that this one would probably sit right in the middle and kind of speak really well if I was to play single notes on it. And sure enough, I thought it did great for those melody parts and lead parts. So let's check out what the parts I played on the GT811E sound like soloed outside of the mix. Here we go. Okay, last but certainly not least, this is probably the easiest playing 12 string that I've ever played in my life. And that's saying a lot, because my Taylor that I've had for like 10 years is an absolutely exceptional playing guitar. But this thing is a joy to play. First of all, the grand concert body shape's just really easy to get around. But, you know, with 12 strings, the main thing is the action and the way that the neck plays. And this guitar, I don't know how to describe it other than to say it's got like electric guitar style playability. I mean, super low action, and the spacing's just great. I mean, even for fingerstyle on a 12 string, this thing, it's doable and sounds just terrific. It's mahogany top, mahogany back and sides, the Venetian cutaway, so it's super easy to get way up there. The body joins the neck at the 12th fret, and it's a short scale too, so it's got kind of a slinky feel for a 12 string, which is nice because, you know, it's like you got to push down an extra set of 6 strings, don't you? Anyways, I love how this thing worked out for both kind of the sort of the melody and the solo melodic parts I was able to play on it and come up with. It was just a joy to play, super easy to play. Sammy commented on it as well because he used it for one part, and he says this thing's so crazy easy to play. All right, so let's check out what this one sounds like soloed outside of the mix. It's the 562 CE. And there you have it. 5 terrific sounding Taylor acoustic guitars. I hope that you were able to garner what some of the differences were in the tone, say between the 717 and 517 Builder's Edition, with, you know, the main difference being that mahogany back and sides versus the rosewood back and sides. And then also with the different body shapes and different scale lengths as well of the GT and the 12 string with the shorter 24 and 7/8 scale. And really, I learned a lot making this video. I didn't know that Taylor had a guitar that was this kind of round shoulder dreadnought or Grand Pacific body shape. Out of all of them, I'm really drawn to this one. I don't know why. I mean, they're all beautiful, and it's really hard to pick a favorite. This one as well, the 517. I mean, they both, like, starting right in the first few bars of that tune, you heard them both, and they complement each other beautifully. I don't know which one I like more. They're both fantastic. So you can check them out further at that link down in the video description below. It'll take you to the Taylor website so you can get all the information about all these great Taylor guitars. Thanks again to Sammy Bowler for appearing in the video. There's links down to his socials. I hate that, socials. Ugh. YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff down there in the video description below for Sammy. Please hit subscribe if you haven't hit the little bell beside the subscribe, and you will get an alert when I put out new videos. Thanks to Tim and Taylor and all the nice folks at Taylor Guitars for making great instruments. I am Pete Thorn. I will see you real soon. Take care.